less expensive than that. Florida estimates that its youth court system, and I think they have about 65 youth courts in Florida, they estimate that it saves them tens of millions of dollars a year. We've just completed the third year of our youth court, and we have integrated it within the social studies curriculum. We were contacted by the University of Texas Law School, which, by the way, is one of the best law schools in the country. And they read the research that we had done the first year, which was money that we actually got through a PCC grant, thanks to Mike Pennington. I'll always be appreciative for that. And they started a youth court in Austin, Texas, because they said they were tired of seeing kids thrown out on the streets. And they started an elementary school youth court for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. Next fall in Chester, if all goes well, we'll be opening another 3 youth courts in another 3 schools. 2 of them are high school academies, and 1 is an elementary school. Youth courts, in my opinion, achieve 4 social goals. They're an effective alternative to more harsh discipline. They're an effective citizenship, socialization, and academic tool. They reconnect a community to the rule of law, law enforcement, and the justice system itself. And they stem the flow of students into the school to prison pipeline. I read the Luzerne report with a lot of interest. I thought it was hard to read. I don't mean that in a way that it was not well thought out or well written. I thought it was hard to read because it had so much information in it. It was an amazing 68 or 69 page document. I would not pretend to give you any recommendations about how to reform the juvenile justice system or if it even needs to be done in the state. But I do have 4 comments. Number 1, in my opinion, based on what I know about systems and how systems work, or even better, how they don't work, I would suggest that you consider maintaining the Interbranch Commission as you continue your work. I think if you end this really unique concept of all 3 branches of government looking at the same problem, I think if you end that, you run the risk that the silos and systems will not respond in a way that you might want. Secondly, New York just completed a year-long study on their youth courts. And although they did not study school-based youth courts very much, they have produced a remarkable planning document called Recommended Practices for Youth Courts. And I would recommend that policy people, throughout the many systems that should be involved in this dialogue, consider reviewing that. Third, I would recommend that at some point, after adequate reflection and research has been done, that you consider creating a youth court statute authorizing youth courts as a bridge mechanism between the schools and the juvenile justice system. I think that, frankly, you could be a leader across the country if you did something like that. I also think that idea would be very appealing to private foundations. And I say that, I had no idea that Annie Casey was going to be here. I frankly think my own foundation that's paying me right now would be very interested if something like that was developed. And finally, I think there needs to be a Pennsylvania Association of Youth Courts so that training, research, and grant writing assistance, this is a big state, and there's a lot of different types of communities in Pennsylvania. But I think to have one networking organization that can go out and provide service and training, research, and grant writing to those little youth courts would be an extremely useful idea. And I really appreciate the opportunity to speak here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there questions?
Just a comment.
Comment? Make it brief because I have 2 others. Thank you.
Madam Chair, just wanted to commend the students that are here and what they have done with their own lives. it is good that the turnaround occurred so that you could really appreciate who you are and what you have, what your potential is, and you want to maximize your potential. So that turnaround that you realized on your own says a lot about you and your character for both of you guys. Okay, so I just wanted to make that as a public comment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative Cohen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too am very impressed by the students who turn their life around. I commend both of you, and I'm impressed by Mr. Volz's testimony about the importance of youth courts. I know Philadelphia has at least one youth court. We had a candidate for the state legislature in a Democratic primary who spoke at length about his work in youth courts. Do you have any idea how common youth courts are?
Yes. Yeah, I can respond to that. There is a National Association of Youth Courts, which is in Baltimore, and which is a relatively new national organization. I think they were created in 2007. They have a website, and they have one of the links tells you how many youth courts they're aware of across the country. There's about 1,100 or 1,200 nationally. Illinois being the state with the most youth courts, about 155 of them. Pennsylvania has 15. And of the 15, and by the way, we're trying to do a quick survey of the Pennsylvania youth courts. We've been trying to do that for a few months. We've had some personnel issues, but we'll get it done. Of the 15 in Pennsylvania, we believe that 10 or 11 are juvenile justice based. And when I use that term, they're part of the juvenile justice alternative system of discipline. We think only 3 or 4 are school-based. And of the school-based ones, there's the one in Chester that I'm trying to nourish, and there's 2 or 3 in Philadelphia. I'm unaware of any school-based youth courts in any other place other than southeastern Pennsylvania.
Do you prefer school-based youth courts to juvenile justice-based youth courts?
I think the perfect model, I mean, based on what I know, and I'm still learning this stuff too, there's a lot to this, but I think the perfect model would be to train the students in high school and have them not only adjudicate in-school offenses, but as they become more mature and more knowledgeable, to have them process juvenile justice cases, and that's exactly what Arizona does. Tucson and Phoenix are just pretty much way ahead of the rest of the country on this stuff, and it's interesting talking to them. So I think you could do both. I think a really high-functioning youth court would be in a school system as part of the social studies system, but then also the students would process juvenile justice cases, maybe on weekends or maybe one night a week or something like that.
Thank you very much.
We thank you very much, Mr. Volz, for coming today. And certainly I want to encourage Brown and Brian and Jamar to continue with the great work that they're doing, for I am sure that you are an inspiration to your peers. We're often told by people in Philadelphia, especially in the school system, principals have told me when they lose a kid, they usually lose them in the 9th grade. That's where they decide that they're going to do better and go all the way, or they're going all the way the other way. To hear you say at 9th grade, you found yourself, you had done well until 9th grade, you find yourself going the other way. But thank God that you were able to turn it around and do good. So continue that, and I'm sure that you will touch the lives of others who you come in contact with. Thank all 3 of you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
And we're going to move forward to our next panel.